All right, we're going to jump into this like we do every week. Welcome to another episode of the Bladeology podcast. We are back on after a short intermission from our being back on from a short intermission one more time. We are lucky enough tonight to be joined by a guest. My name is Jeremiah Burbank. We've got Nick Chuprin. Are you here?
Yeah, Nick Chuprin from NCC Knives.
And we've got Chuck. Chuck, are you here?
Chuck Gidritis from Gidritis Knives.
All right, awesome. So we are on today, and we are going to talk about the New York Custom Knife Show that just happened this past weekend. We were all there. We had a great time. Let's jump into it. Chuck, you were an exhibitor. Give us some insight. How did you think the show went?
I thought the show went very well. Talking with Steve Delac, who is the promoter of the show, early on Friday, he had a get-together for makers meet and greet and had food for everyone. We got to talk to other makers and actually sit down and talk to people that normally are behind their tables that we don't get to see. He had also mentioned that he had sold more early bird VIP passes to this particular show than he has to almost any show in the past. So attendance was great. The doors opened at 9 and normally they open at 10. So it was a much earlier show for everyone. And it was busy from the start of the show to the end of the show. It was just constant customers coming in. Everyone was excited to be there. It's the first show they've had in 4 years. And you could really see the enthusiasm of the crowd excited to be there after a 4-year hiatus.
I definitely I second that. It was personally it was great to be back in New York after a hiatus. It was New York show is a great show. Let me just say that. I love going to New York for a knife show. It's in Jersey, okay, sure. But it was really nice to be back. I think the last show 2019, right?
Yeah. 2019.
Wow. That's time. Yeah, time flies. But good to be back at the West End and see everybody. I think there was almost an air of electricity going on. It was. I think people were definitely excited to be back at that show.
Definitely, it was a packed room. When we first walked in, the layout was a little different. It was so packed that it was actually a little hard to maneuver around, which is a good thing.
Yeah, no, especially if there's that many people there. I know at doors open right. I think there were a huge amount of VIPs. I would imagine that a large number of VIP tickets came in on time. I don't think there was anybody showing up late. There was definitely a rush, which is always nice to see. There's always that sort of anticipation for doors at these shows. And, sometimes it can be a bit cumbersome when everyone's so excited to get to the maker's table, but it's also great to see people that excited in general and just have the doors open and everyone's running, to get to their chosen line or to their maker's first come or first serve. But yeah, no, it was definitely shoulder to shoulder for a while there. Definitely late into the day where normally I think you see that 3 o'clock and it tapers off. I think at 3 o'clock, the show was still pretty buzzing. Considering the hour that it started at. So Nick, this was a year, so you weren't exhibiting. You were just attending the show. How did you do? Did you do show deliveries? How did that work? Crucial meetings?
So I've actually never exhibited at Nick's, even though it's the first show I went to back in 2009. Just because I'm from New York, my shop was originally about 10 minutes south of the show. It's just the one show I usually always did that I got to enjoy and walk around at. Since I'm no longer in New York, I will start exhibiting next year at that show. Just didn't do it this year. Too much going on. Same as usual. I go to dealer deliveries and just set up other deals for new upcoming projects.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, Nick and I, it was a bit harrowing. We rented a car to leave New Hampshire and drive down because it's always been relatively convenient for myself, but definitely this year more so than ever. Nick and I were driving down from the same location. It was a snowstorm the night before. We went down on Thursday. So that was we actually managed to get there without any folly in the weather. And then on Friday it was really cool. We went by the Steel Baron's shop.
Yeah, we went up a little north to northern Jersey and visited my steel supplier and longtime friends, NJ Steel Baron. As some of you know, well, I used to work out of their shop, and they still supply my steel and water jet cutting to this day.
Yeah, I'd never been there or done a shop tour there. It was pretty cool to see the outfit and see where all the steel comes from. It's always really interesting seeing either a maker's shop or a supplier's shop or even a dealer's setup. It's like it's peeking behind the curtain, so to say, and seeing where the magic happens, especially since it's in Jersey, right? It takes about 6 hours to get from anywhere to another place, considering the amount of traffic that we encountered. And then Chuck, so you drove down as well.
I did. I drove down from Massachusetts, about a 3.5 hour drive. We stopped in New Haven and visited Sally's Pizza in New Haven, which is a very famous pizza shop there. And it was good. The sauce was definitely the star of the show on the pizza. And then continued down to Jersey City and got there about 4 o'clock. And then checked into the hotel, went to the meet and greet, and then headed into New York City for dinner.
Nice. Okay. Where'd you guys eat for dinner?
We went to the Old Homestead Steakhouse, which is the oldest operating steakhouse in the United States. It's been in operation since 1863.
Oh, okay. That's pretty. I definitely have to put that on my list. I'd love to check that out. I would imagine it's pretty good.
It's fantastic. Old school wood paneling on all the walls. The wait staff is actually impeccable. You don't have to ask for anything. As soon as your water is almost empty, they're right there to fill it up. It's just, the service is fantastic. It's well worth checking it out.
Nice. Okay. All right. That's pretty spiffy. And so what was your build out for the custom show? What did you get there?
So I brought mostly Switch Army switchblades with me. I had 8 of those. I had one small manual Yakuza that had a 1095 blade with hamon, copper and iron Mokame bolster, spacer, and thumb disc, and green mammoth ivory scales. And I had a small Marauder scale release auto, which is the first one I've made. And while I was there, it also reminded me that in 2019 was the first year that I brought Switch Army switchblades to the New York Custom Knife Show.
Oh, that's dope.
So
okay.
I've been making those now for 4 years. And I was trying to guesstimate on how many I've made, and it's probably somewhere less than 200.
Okay. That's so crazy because every time I see that knife, like I in my mind I'm like, oh yeah, that's Chuck's new model. Like I continuously think it just came out. It's just like, I don't know, it's one of those designs, it's one of those knives where I'm just like, oh yeah, like of course it's the newest, most interesting thing. It's a great design. I love that. And I really like the scale release Marauder was pretty interesting. I'd never seen you do one of those before. As you said, it's your first one. I hope to see more of those. That was a very clean build.
It was clean. It was very utilitarian. I actually added a pocket clip to it so it would be easier to carry. So yeah, I will definitely be building more of those. The thing with the Switch Army Switchblade is that I'm having a lot of fun with all the different handle materials. The ideas I found are almost limitless. You could do themes for movie trilogies. You could do sports teams. You could do classic car influence themes. It's just endless the amount of configurations that are out there. So I'm having a lot of fun with those. And it makes each one of them a little unique compared to the other ones.
Yeah, that is pretty cool because I've seen you do right, you did like a Vader one, you did an R2D2 one. What was the most recent sort of stylized one? Was it the Grateful Dead one?
The Grateful Dead one I had in Kentucky that had the Steal Your Face logo on it. And I'm working on one right now that I'm going to nickname the Dark Knight. It's got black canvas micarta scales that I didn't polish, that I left matte, and a yellow G. And then on the blade, I cut a long pull and inlaid some yellow paint into it. And I'm going to acid etch the whole blade black. So you'll have this yellow line on it and the yellow G kind of influenced by The Dark Knight. Should be cool.
So
Should
like
be,
Superman themed. I gotcha.
yeah. Well, not so much Superman, Batman, since it's black and yellow.
Never heard of him, but seems cool.
I like it. Okay, that's pretty spicy. It's definitely I've been keeping track of the builds, and it is nice to see. Right, every time it's like, oh, there's something new scale material, so it's the same general silhouette, but with a new interesting shirt on, which is pretty cool. Yep.
Really contemplating about upgrading some packaging ideas for it. I've also found a chocolate Swiss Army knife that I'm going to buy a bulk number of. And when you purchase a Switch Army Switchblade, either by mail or in person, it's going to include a chocolate Swiss Army knife.
Nice. Okay, I think that's a nice touch. Okay, that's pretty neat. Amp up the interesting and cool factor for sure.
Yeah, everybody likes chocolate. So.
I think that's a totally fair assumption to make. Absolutely, yeah. No, yeah, the show is awesome, and obviously, Chuck, you sold out, right?
I did. I sold out fairly quickly. I had a table right in the front row, right across from the entrance. So as soon as you walked in the door, I was right there, and it was amazing to see lots of old faces and new faces and people we hadn't seen in 4 years. It was just great to be there and see everybody in New York.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely, the 50/50 crew does a great job. I like Steve. I like the shows he puts on. I sponsor them. So obviously I just like seeing my logo up there. That's great. It's in good company. And I'm definitely happy to see that show circuit sort of come back around again. Lottos were great on Saturday. I think there was a good turnout. In general for lottos. Chuck, I had a question about positioning. So at the Knicks show, right, you have good positioning. You're front and center. Is that something that comes with seniority at the shows, or do you just ask for that? How does that work?
I think a part of it is seniority at the shows, that if you've been doing the show long enough and they're familiar with who you are and what you bring for a product, that you sometimes get a better table. They're not playing favorites, but if you're going to be a draw and help get customers there, they want you in front. And they also maybe want to help you do well and showcase your product to people as they come in the door. I mean, everyone has their favorites. Everyone has the table that they run to first to see what's new and different. But it's nice to be positioned in a good location.
Right on. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. That front row is pretty popular. I think Sal Monero and RJ were also in the front row. So I think that makes the most sense. Sort of seniority and people with some serious draw, getting people in the door like that at the shows for sure. Huh. Okay. So Nick, so you didn't exhibit this year. You're gonna exhibit next year. Tell us a little bit about your show experience.
I'd say it was a good show for me. You got just as much done in front of the table than behind the table. Just brought some new products by, my new grapnel nook and the Auto Proto. No one has seen the Auto Proto yet, but got a lot of good feedback. Showed around to some dealers, some past customers, some friends, and I even showed it to David Protech, and he thought it was a great auto. So I consider that a win.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I think Levon from the Knife Nuts posted the auto on his feed. I know I saw it pop up on Instagram. So I think
that's the only place it's been shown so far.
Yeah, I think people are getting pretty excited about that. I definitely saw some cool comments. It's a very, very exciting project. Won't get too in deep tonight on that. I know we've got a recording coming up with Nick Menevade, the other Nick. Who is the collaborator on that?
Yep. Nick Squared, if you might say. I'm just joking. He hates that. But yeah, we'll be talking with Nick here shortly, and that's when I'll talk about that.
Nice. Okay.
You've seen it's pretty much complete. Just waiting for some of the hardware to be coated black.
Yeah. No, I think it looks great. I think it's definitely a hole in the market that was looking to get filled up, so to say. And yeah, that is great that that Dave had nothing positive or nothing negative, but only positive to say about it in general. And definitely, I think it helps. You tell me, but I think it helps being in a show like that and getting to pass around new work so your peers can look at it and give you feedback, positive or negative. It's definitely a bonus to going to a knife show.
Yeah, because it's like when you have prototypes like that at a show and you're exhibiting, people would like to buy it, and it's hard not to sell it, and it's hard to say no. But when you're just walking around, it's easier to just show people and be like, "Hey, check this out." Or people ask, "What are you working on?" And I was like, "This," and everyone was pretty surprised to see that, as I've never made autos before, and that auto specifically is kind of a unique Cali legal piece. So it definitely got a lot of positive feedback and a lot of interest behind the project.
Well, that's awesome. I think that's great feedback. I know the Nuck project is pretty exciting. I know it's a little dicey for some people, but they are legal in a lot of different places that people forget. Like autos, the legalities continue to increase instead of decreasing. So that's also pretty exciting stuff.
Yep, you festered me for years to make a Nuck.
That
I
is
didn't
absolutely
really
right.
want to touch that side of the industry while being in New York City. Now that I'm not in New York, finally got around to making some.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think it's the same thing. I think that no one has really stepped up to the plate as far as design and comfort goes, and I think the grapnel ticks off a lot of boxes on that checklist for products in that category for sure.
Yeah, it definitely took went through some iterations to get the fitment right. So I've never made one like that, but it's been a big, say, not a play on words, but a gripe of Nucks that I've held that they're not actually comfortable to hold. Now, the front end of that one isn't comfortable for the person on the receiving end, but on your end, I'd confidently say it's one of the most comfortable Nucks I've seen out there.
You're going to be comfortable using it while the individual receiving it might not be as comfortable, so to say.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That works.
So enough of me. This isn't my episode. So Chuck, what else are you working on?
Right now, I'm working on knives for Blade Show Texas, which is 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Oh yeah, we're coming up on it pretty quick, aren't we?
Yeah, it's a quick turnaround. 2 weeks between shows. Originally, I had only planned on attending Nick's, and I kind of got bullied into a table by the show promoter because they saw that I was going to be attending, saw me on the hotel register. They said, "Well, we have a last minute table available if you want it." I said, "Sure, I have one knife in 2 weeks. Let me see what I can get done."
Just crank them out, Chuck. Just come on.
Who needs sleep? Nick knows how that works. And
I don't know what you're talking about.
in the same position now for Blade Show Texas.
Okay, I'm excited. I think the Blade Show Texas is going to be great. I'm going. I think every Texas show so far has been a blast with really good attendance.
And there's no snow like here in New York.
That's solid point. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I'll do a quick wrap up. I saw the father and good son from Skiff Blades. I picked up some knives from those guys. Always good to see them. They are just absolutely lovely people. If you've never met them, super friendly. Some of the most modest of modest I've ever met, especially considering the product. Ran into Mr. Frank Landau, picked up some of his new manual button locks, which I'm excited about. It's kind of interesting, different project. It's not a flipper. It's just a regular old button lock, manual. It's kind of interesting. Picked up some stuff from Chuck, obviously. That'll be up on the website pretty soon. Picked up some stuff from Show Dad, or as we more commonly might recognize him as John Gray. And yeah, I had a great time. It's always good catching up with makers, catching up with friends. And it just so happens in the case that, we're doing business, which is always fun as well. Cutting deals. Happy to see Mr. Greenberg, Hank, Blackside Customs, pulling out all the stops for the New York show. great Starling Gear collaborations on some of the Phase 7s and the Ricochet Tomahawks, along with the new like leather line, I want to say, that he's doing with Rick from Starling Gear. They're doing some leather goods, which Starling Gear already did, but not in the same style that he's going to do with Blackside. They're going to be more sort of everyday carry minded, a little less super crazy high end and more same quality, but like EDC wallets, EDC patches. So that's exciting. I'm a low key Starling Gear fan, so that's pretty neat to see that stuff coming out of there. Let me think. Saturday night, for the first time in forever, we actually didn't make it into the city, which is kind of a bummer, but it's okay. The weather was not so great. It was extremely cold, so we ended up hanging out at the hotel with everybody, which is cool. And the Nick's show was great. We wrapped up just in time on Saturday night. It was a 1-day show, so there was some contention over that, but I think it worked nicely in a 1-day arena. I think people felt an urgency to come and check stuff out without sort of like a delayed Sunday, or they were like, okay, got to get in there on Saturday and do this. I think that worked out really well. I think a lot of the people we saw in New York will be definitely, I feel like they'll be in Texas. Chuck, are you going to build anything crazy for Texas? You're doing Switch Army Switchblades. Do you want to give us a tip on anything else you're building?
I'll have some Switch Army Switchblades. I also have a couple of high-end dagger automatics that I'm working on. One's going to have a Jerry Rados Forge to Shape Turkish twist Damascus blade and front and rear bolsters with walrus ivory scales. And if I have time to get to it, I have another stiletto style. Like maybe I might make it more of an Italian style if I have time to get that built for the show.
Okay, it sounds pretty spicy, man. Okay, some walrus ivory. I'm down. That sounds got some dress level stuff in there.
It'll be fancy for sure.
Okay, all right.
So, Chuck, you want to explain what Force to Shape is for some that don't understand?
So this is the blade was a 5-bar Turkish twist Damascus, and the point of the blade is forged in as opposed to just being bandsawed out. So this way the pattern follows the shape of the blade all the way down to the point instead of falling off of the edges if it had been bandsawed. So it follows the same shape. So if you do a Persian or a drop point or a dagger, they all follow the shape of the blade right up to the point. So it's more aesthetically pleasing. It's also harder to do.
So do you give him your design and he forges it around your design, or like he will make a build specific for a dagger shape?
You can do both, or I have bar stock from him that I bought that I've actually forged the points of the blades on and forged to shape, and then they're surface ground and profiled, and basically I designed the knife around that, or I have a pre-existing design and I forge the blade to that shape. Sometimes I'll even make a sheet metal template of the blade that I can use as the template for when I'm forging the blade to shape. Next year, there was mention that Nick's might go back to 2 days. So okay. Friday and Saturday. But I kind of enjoyed the 1 day because you didn't have customers saying, I'll be back tomorrow. It was, you got to buy it now, or, that's your only chance. So.
I don't want to put you on the spot here because I don't remember, but do you remember the final answer, what Steve said vis-a-vis next year's time and date? I know a lot of people are looking forward to coming back to November, but it sounds like he was thinking about keeping it in this February arena. Is that?
I think he's going to keep it in the February arena. I think the November show that he moved to Nashville is actually going to stay in Nashville now. And so there'll only be one show in New Jersey, probably only in February.
Okay. All right. Well, suppose that leaves the East Coast show option up in the air for the future if we just have that singular show in February in New York.
And then next year, the only conflict with that is Blade Show Texas is moving to February, because they have a conflict in Texas in March. So we'll have to see what happens.
Yes. More than a couple of days ago, I had written up a show schedule. Geez, I think I did it in 2019. It was like one of the last regular times we were podcasting. I think I put together a show schedule for 2020, but then the pandemic happened. But it was funny to see all the shows and how many there were, because I feel like we're building up to that again. I know that's kind of a constant joke in our industry, but I really, in the last year, post pandemic, it seems like we're tripling down on our knife shows right now. Which is, double-edged sword, no pun intended. It's great. I love to see shows. Like, shows are so much fun. If you've never been to a knife show, please do your best to get out there. Go to a knife show, meet these people. They're strange, they're weird, they're lovable, they're hilarious. We're those people, but like, there's a lot of shows. I mean, I'm glad that I'm not a maker, because having to travel to all these shows would be contentious, to say the least. I think you'd really have to pick one you're going with, and that's your horse,
Well, I made a list.
Oh, there you go.
Shows of 2023 from February to June. I haven't gone past June yet, but there were 4 shows in February. There was Arkansas, TKI, California Custom Knife Show, Spring, and Nix. In March is Blade Show Texas. In April there's the New Orleans Custom Show. In May you have Solvang, which is coming back. And then in June, Blade Show Atlanta.
I know that you had toyed around with the idea of going to Solvang, but I think that I wanted to go to Solvang. You thought about going, and that gave me a reason to go, and I was like, okay, great, we're going to Solvang.
There was a maker next to me at Nix who is going. His name's Tony Baker, and he was asked by the show promoter for Solvang to walk around the show and see if there was anyone who he thought would be a good fit for their show. And he approached me and asked me if I'd like to go. And after some inquiry, automatics and ivory are illegal in California. And so that will not allow me to display this type of knives that I would like to build and bring to that show to make myself stand out compared to other makers that are going to be there.
Bunch of squares, huh? Copy that. All right.
Well, I could build manual folders, but they're cooler if they're a switchblade.
Hell yeah, they are. All right. Well, that's okay. We'll get them next time. Those Californians can keep their anti-switchblade laws to themselves and let the rest of the country legalize the fun more and more day by day. So we'll be going to a cooler show. Okay, I don't know if it's cooler, but it's a lot closer. You know what? It might be cooler. Whatever. It's all relative. We're going to Mystic, Connecticut. Shh, don't tell anybody. They'll all show up and take the knives. NCCA in Mystic. Looking forward to that in the future. So no Solvang this year. That's all right. Nick, what's the next show you're going to be exhibiting at?
Probably Blade Show. I'm not doing Texas. I have some other things that came up that I will be doing instead. But probably Blade Show. I don't know. I didn't make the roster this time around because just with the move and everything. The new parts for the new folder came in, so that's concentration number 1 is on that at the moment. Right. Probably USN. I don't know. This year with shows are kind of open in the air as they come along. Okay. Depending on where I'm at with certain projects.
But probably Blade Show, and for anyone listening, you definitely see Nick at Blade Show. He'll for sure be there.
Always there.
Exactly. All right. I love it. Gents, am I missing anything?
No, I think we pretty much touched on everything in relation to the show and what's new and what's happening and where we're exhibiting next.
Nice. All right. Well, in that case, everybody, thanks so much. We wanted to just jump on here with a quick update episode. We've got a lot in the works this year. I think Chuck's going to be joining us on more than a few episodes as our 2023 guest host of the year, so to say. We've got next up, we're recording an episode with Nick Menevade where you can hear Nick and Nick talk about Nick's projects with Nick. It's going to be great. That's coming up. And I've got a bunch of good and amazing guests lined up. One of which right now I am super excited about. Jeffrey Harkins will be on the podcast probably before Blade Show. Hopefully I'm shooting for before Blade Show. It's going to be a long episode. It's going to be even longer to edit. But yeah, got a great lineup this year. Stay tuned. Stick with us. There's more greatness to come. This is Jeremiah Burbank. Thanks so much for listening. And I'm going to sign off. Leave it up to you two.
So Nick Trooper and NCC Knives signing off.
And Chuck Gudritis of Gudritis Knives signing off.
Thanks, everybody. See you next time.